Hi guys! So today we're going to be talking about character design, and this is something that I get like way too excited about, so I'm sorry in advance for the long video, but I know a lot of you guys have your own characters or you're interested in making your own characters, so hopefully this video helps you guys out a little bit. I'm just going to be going through my personal process for designing a character. It's definitely not the only way. I'm sure there's like so many methods out there of how to design a great character, but this is just kind of the process that I go through. And in order to illustrate it, I'm actually going to be redesigning one of my own characters. I'm going to be redesigning my demon character named London. She is probably one of my oldest OCs. I made her years and years ago, and she has gone through so many changes over the years, but her kind of core personality has always remained the same. So I just wanted to take this opportunity to create like an official kind of character sheet for her because, I've waffled about with different outfits and even different like body shapes and stuff over the years as my art style has evolved. So I just kind of wanted to nail down a design and sort of a little bit of a backstory. I definitely don't have her whole story worked out, but I've got a little bit. And yeah, so let's just get into it. So I have kind of like a Venn diagram approach to character design. I like made a little visual for you guys here. But like the three areas that I look at are the character's personality and backstory, the environment that the character's in, and just the general like visually pleasingness of the design, and that has like a lot of different aspects. But like the personality and like backstory, that is things like your character's traits, your character's skills, their profession, any like past history or whatever events in their past that like shaped them as a character. That kind of goes into the personality circle. And then like environment, you're thinking about the world they live in, you're thinking about the society, the government, what values that society has, the time period that they live in. And then for like the visually pleasing section, I think about things like shape language, I think about the colors that are used, I think about silhouette. And I personally like my characters to be pretty simple, but you want your character to be overall easy to read, but also distinguishable. You want them to be able to stand out from like a crowd. So if you drew them in like a crowd of people, you want to be obvious, like this is the character you should be focusing on. And the goal with this is to find a place with your character design where all three of those things overlap. So for example, with London, in past designs that I've done of her, her outfits have demonstrated her character's traits, her expressions have demonstrated her character traits, but it hasn't necessarily reflected her environment because I always envisioned her in a kind of semi-futuristic world, not like super high tech and stuff, but definitely more futuristic than right now. And the clothes I used to draw her in, they were very much modern day, like today type athleisure clothing. And that fit with her personality. She's a really lazy person, and so obviously she's not going to put much effort into her outfit. But it doesn't necessarily fit with that kind of semi-futuristic feel of her environment. So with her previous designs, I was kind of missing that environment element. And I definitely think that with character design, iterations are really important. Like, I don't think that I could have designed this design of London without having drawn all of those kind of previous versions. It takes drawing the character a lot and kind of like tweaking them and throwing around different ideas. And that's kind of how the story starts to develop and kind of like marinate in your mind. So like don't expect yourself to draw like a perfect character in one go. Definitely give yourself some time, whether you're the kind of person like me who kind of lets a character evolve over years, or if you're trying to like draw a character quickly for a project you're working on, give yourself the time to just sketch out very loose ideas and just get it down on paper and let it evolve and build off of those ideas, because it's definitely not going to happen in one go. Characters, they're complex. You know, a good character is deep, they're complex, they're all multifaceted, and you know, you're not going to get that in just one go. So don't like beat yourself up if you feel like, you know, it's taking a while to create your character. It'll kind of happen eventually, but you can certainly like push it along by experimenting and trying new things and putting new ideas on paper. So let's get back to what I'm doing now. Right now I'm actually, I just created some general bodies, really kind of loose sketches, and I'm trying out some outfit ideas. And for me, when I get to outfit ideas, I like to try out a lot of different options. I personally find clothes very hard to design for, so I like to kind of give myself the freedom to try a bunch of different things and see what works. For this one, I only did 2 because, you know, it's mainly because I've been drawing London for years and I kind of have a good sense of her style in terms of her personality. These designs were more me trying to kind of make her outfit a little bit more futuristic, but still maintaining that athleisure vibe. I definitely turn to Pinterest a lot when it comes to designing a character's outfit. I usually create like vision boards or like mood boards for my character that have like clothes references, you know, shoes, hairstyle, expressions, colors, general just moods that kind of help me get into the character's headspace. So that's definitely a really helpful thing if you're designing your character, especially if you're a pretty visual person, to kind of be able to see that visual representation of the character while you're working. So at this point in kind of like the clothing design, one thing that really helps me is to look at the silhouette that I've created. So if you take away all the line art, all the details, and you just fill your character with black, what shapes do you have? And this can kind of help you figure out if you've created a unique looking character. You know, on one extreme, if you put too many things on the character, they might just look like a blob when you put them in silhouette form, and that doesn't read very easily. On the other hand, you know, say you put your character in all like tight things and they have short hair. When you turn them into a silhouette, there's nothing interesting, nothing that defines them as a character. So that can be like a really, really useful indicator as you're creating your outfits or as you're creating your characters in general, if you do use kind of more exaggerated proportions of your character. And then at this point, once I have design I like, I usually go into Procreate and just do color studies there. It just helps me be able to work faster and more efficiently and try more combos and experiment more. So these are the 3 ideas that I came up with. I did really like the first one, but ultimately I ended up going with the 3rd one, simply because I felt like it worked better with London's character. She's definitely more of an anti-hero character. She has a pretty questionable moral compass, and I thought that the darker colors kind of represented that more darker character. And you know, the yellow colors, it did kind of feel a little bit too modern day, a little bit too now, whereas the black and red felt a little more futuristic to me, so that's why I went with that one. Another reason I went with that one is because London actually has yellow eyes, and for me, when I draw her face, because she has purple skin, the yellow eyes really stand out, so it allows me to create very kind of striking and piercing glares and expressions that just really work well with her personality. And if I had sort of a lot of yellow on her outfit, the power of the yellow in her eyes would kind of be like not as significant. So that's why I ended up going with the color scheme that I did. Honestly, I could probably like go on and on about like color language in character design for like so long, but maybe I could do another video about that. I'm kind of interested in doing like a video on color language in character design and shape language in character design. Let me know if you guys would be interested in that. But as a little side note, another thing that definitely helps me with picking colors is taking away the line art and just looking at the flat colors And another thing you can do is actually pull the saturation down and look at your color scheme in black and white. And this will kind of key you in on whether or not you have enough contrast in the colors. It's definitely hard to tell when you need certain colors like red and green, they look like super different when the colors are fully saturated, but pull the saturation down, they're actually like the same tone of gray. And so you want to look for something that has enough contrast in the colors that you pick. I think that's all I had in terms of like the technical stuff. I hope I haven't been like boring you guys with like color theory and junk like that. I personally find it really fascinating how much of an impact color can have on a design. Like just changing the colors of a character can totally like change up how people read that character and the assumptions they make about that character when they see them. It's fascinating. But I don't know, I guess one thing I wanted to touch on in this video, and I don't know how to transition into it, so we're just going to go for it, and that is necessity over aesthetic. So like for everything that you do on your character, you know, whether it's the clothes or like a specific feature or a specific color, I think it's really important to ask yourself, like, what is the purpose? Why is this here? And if you can't answer that question based on, you know, your character's personality, the environment your character lives in, then your character doesn't really need that thing. You know, I definitely see a lot of people just like piling on things like to their character, like 2 different color eyes, scars, colorful streaks in their hair, lots of jewelry. And honestly, I mean, for me, it just kind of confuses the design. I mean, it's definitely an aesthetic thing. Like a lot of people like the look of that. But in terms of like a character design perspective, it makes the character hard to read because you don't know what to focus on. But like, so for example, if your character has just one piece of jewelry, maybe it's like a unique necklace that has a story behind it. It was like given to her by your sister or something. You know, this adds to the character and it adds story. And personally, I find that memorability comes down to simplicity. And like for me, when I'm designing characters, my goal is, would someone be able to draw this character after seeing them once? Would they be able to get like the general concept of the character and recreate it after seeing them one time? That's ultimately like what you're going for. That is what makes a memorable character. And you know, you kind of have to separate yourself from your character a little bit. You know, just putting things that you like into your character doesn't necessarily enhance the character itself. And this can definitely go like the other direction too. You can definitely oversimplify a character and then they kind of lose their interest. And this is something that I've personally been very guilty of. I always draw characters very simple. I focus on just simple shapes and colors, but what I've realized is always missing from my character designs in the past is some like unique identifiable feature, thing, object, whatever to the character. So for example, like I used to always draw London. She was like this demon with a lot of attitude and athleisure gear, but she didn't really have anything that kind of hinted about who she was and, you know, what her backstory was. So there wasn't really anything contributing to her story. She was kind of a flat character. She didn't have that kind of dimension that I think a really good character should have. So what I tried to do with this design was add a little bit of that in. And I did it with those kind of chunky ear tags, earring things that are kind of like mechanical looking. I always pictured her to be in like a semi-utopian society, but kind of like under the surface is definitely pretty dystopian and the government's controlling like way too much crap. And the idea was that the government kind of realized that in order to create a perfect society, you needed to have a little bit of unease, a little bit of crime, and in a sense like a common enemy. Otherwise, people kind of fall into minor squabbling, and then that evolves into just conflict, and it just exaggerates from there. So what they did is they made kind of a deal with the devil, I guess you would say, and they employed the demons of hell, the underworld, whatever you want to call it, to create kind of minor conflicts in the major cities of the world. And each demon in each city was actually named after the city itself. So London is the demon that haunts the city of London. And obviously, when you make a deal with the devil, it definitely has some risks. You have a very high potential to get screwed over. So they created these ear tags to create some kind of fail-safe. And I haven't quite figured out what that fail-safe is, whether it incapacitates the demon or somehow allows them to take control over them or something. It's some kind of mechanical fail-safe that protects them if the demons decide that they don't want to listen to the government anymore or want to do their own thing, or they want to, you know, disobey whatever they were supposed to do. So that kind of, it's a small little object, but it kind of adds a little bit of dimension to her story. Another thing I've kind of always drawn with London is this kind of cute ghost companion, but he's never really had a story or reason. So I came up with the idea that it's some kind of person that she sort of killed, someone who didn't deserve it, a good person that she killed. You know, the idea that the demons of hell, they punish people who are bad, people who deserve it. Well, by some circumstances, she ended up killing this guy, and now he quite literally haunts her. And, you know, he's a ridiculously good person, almost annoyingly good, and he kind of acts like a conscience for London. And I thought it would be a good way to kind of, one, balance out her bad nature, and two, kind of progress the story, because obviously anti-hero characters, they need some kind of some assistance to kind of progress the story and help them to start make good decisions, you know what I mean? And then the last thing I drew was a weapon for her. I always imagined her using like spiked baseball bats, but I thought it might be a little more unique and interesting to use a cricket bat since she lives in London. So I thought that was kind of funny, but it's pretty cool. I just like the whole kind of spiked bat aesthetic, and I think it adds like a little bit of a unique twist. But anyway, I hope you guys liked this video. I know it was really rambly and really long, but let me know if you want any more character design videos in the future, and let me know what you think of London's new design. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye!